me take a second to introduce some of the people that we have here today from the city leadership. We'll start with the council people that are here tonight. You have, starting at the end there, is our councilman at large, Daniel Rivera. Big clap for the guy. We have, to his left, the councilwoman at large, Joyce Waterman. Councilman for Ward F, Diane Coleman. We have in the back over there our Deputy Mayor focused on the economic development front, Marcos Vigil. We have several of our directors here from different departments. We have our Director of Recreation, Kevin Williamson. We have our Director of Public Works, Mark Redfield. And we have our Director of Health and Human Services, Stacy Flanagan. And we have our Director of Public Safety here, Jim Shea. Okay, we have several of that I'll introduce as we go on. The leadership from the Bethune Center is here. Your South District Captain is here. And we'll have a conversation about them and loop them in as well. Generally, the format that we've had for these ward meetings is really opening up the conversation to anything you want to cover specifically. It's a good opportunity for us to assess what we're doing well and where we can improve, what types of resources we've been effective with, where we've not been effective. And the goal is to really have a kind of a candid conversation. I know that a lot of the concerns will focus around policing issues. We could have a conversation around that, where we are as it relates to resources on that. We wanted to provide you the information as we've done in every ward, so you get a baseline understanding and everybody's on the same page on what people may think, what they may feel, and what's actually happening. And then if you don't want to talk about crime and you want to talk about parks or you want to talk about recreation or sanitation, we have the people here who can handle that, and the hope is that we can address it in a productive way and move forward and correct some of the problems that you would see in order to make Jersey City that much of a better place. So I'll open it up to questions, and in the absence of questions, we'll turn it over, of course, to our council people if anything they want to say. But does anybody want to start the conversation on anything specific overall? This is never a shy bunch. All right. Jason, go ahead.
Do you consider your administration to have an open door policy for people in the communities to communicate with you?
The question is regarding an open door policy, and do we consider that the administration has an open door policy as it relates to communication? I think we're very accessible. I think that we're accessible via constituent concerns. We've staffed up in the Resident Response Center. I think that if you want to email or access me personally, I'm very responsive on that. I think anybody would recognize that it is impossible in any of our capacities to meet with 260,000 residents individually. But if you have an individual concern, I think that we are accessible and generally fairly good at responding to those in a responsive way.
Well, I like to be able to sit down with you for the last 3 years. I have been communicating and used 27 of my points, and it was very effective, and I appreciate it. But again, I wanted to sit down physically and speak to you as one Marine to another.
Okay, Jason. I will follow up with you next time. All right, thank you. Fair. Yeah. We'll walk our way back. We'll start here with the gentleman, and then we'll go to you.
Hi, my name is Steve Nardi. Looking at this Ward F development update, and I just wanted to know, is this up to date? Is this going forward? I've heard that there's a remediation problem.
On the City Hall annex. Marcus, you want to join us up here if you have insight? Yes, it actually is going to formally close any day. It is moving forward. They started, my understanding, doing some site work. That is starting and that is moving forward. We actually had a meeting on it today. I don't know if there's anything additional you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically working on making closing both from the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency side as well as from the City Hall side. So that project is going to be moving forward pretty soon.
The actual construction?
Yes.
Yeah, the actual construction.
Yes. 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 His question was regarding the City Hall annex. That is a $20 million project at the hub. Our belief is that by moving a lot of the City Hall offices there and investing there, it's going to help energize an area that's been neglected for a long time. There were a lot of obstacles and challenges in order to move that forward, ranging from getting HUD approval. There were historical loans and debt on that property that had to be cleared up. There was a private landlord, and then there was a city entity as well. So it's taken some time, and I think we're over every single obstacle. If you want to know if the project is moving forward, then the answer is unequivocally yes. We first heard in the back. Yes?
Are you familiar with the closed circuit cameras?
Yes.
I understand that only 15% of those cameras are operational in the South District, while 85% are operational in the East District. Can you
Okay.
explain why?
Okay. You want to answer the question? The question was, I'm going to repeat the question as I understand it. You don't need to stand unless you want to make it easier. Her question was about CCTV cameras. Her understanding is that many are not operating properly, and then further down on not operating properly, she understands only 15% are operating in the South District, while 85% are operating in the East District, and she wanted to know why, correct? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the Public Safety Director. Thank you.
The CCTV cameras in general are a problem for our entire time here. The problem was that there were 3 separate systems that were put in under different economic grants, and then they were all turned over to the city. So the 3 systems are not linked together, can't talk to each other, and all have individual problems. So the ones in the east don't break as much as the ones in the south. That may be a function of who put them in or the equipment that was used at the time. The bottom line is, we've been dealing with it for about 2 years, trying to put Band-Aids on it, trying to fix it, and we've reached the point where we've said, let's start almost over. Because the cameras, by the way, were put in with economic development money into economic development zones, and no one ever considered where crime was when they put the cameras in. They just put them wherever someone was willing to pay for them. So we are actually in the middle of a project now where we are taking the cameras, we're looking at the corners that have no coverage, the corners we're comparing it to where crime occurs, and we're going to be moving and putting in a whole new system and asking the council either in this year or next year's capital budget to fund it.
Diane Coleman wants to answer.
I just wanted to say that Joyce and I have known for a while that the CCTV cameras weren't operating in this area, and we knew that it was a lot of money to replace them, so we put our heads together and came up with a part of the give back to the community for any new project in Ward F will be cameras on each corner of the new development connected to the police station, and we just put one through for approval. That'll be coming real soon with cameras. So new projects, a part of the give back is going to have to be cameras on each corner or surrounding the project. So that's one thing that we've implemented.
Yeah, I would just echo the sentiment. One of the goals for this year is to overhaul. We've had several vendors in there to overhaul the entire system. We had last week, in addition to the cameras, we also had vendors in regarding the Shot Spotter, which is a listening devices to pinpoint where shootings happen ultimately, so that we could better enforce there, because a lot of shootings ultimately don't get reported into the police department. So we're looking to overhaul that because a lot of it happens to be antiquated. What the director mentioned as it relates to locations of the cameras and what was funding it, the city has something called a UEZ map. It's an urban enterprise zone designated by the state. And those funds were funds that were able to be used to subsidize additional police presence and additional cameras. And that's been kind of the standard course of events for the better part of 15 years. This governor took down all those UEZ funds. Jersey City, I believe the number was $14 million that we lost. And that has put strain on expanding the camera system, and it's kind of given us the ability to take a fresh look and say maybe we don't need to be in this map anymore and start over with a fresh vendor and actually install something that works, is where we are ultimately. So right now it is obviously not ideal on what's operational, what's not operational. Yes, start there, yes.
My name is Pat Seifert. Pardon my seat, but just as a point of clarification. Now, Ward F the West District is a UEZ zone also. But are there any cameras in the West District? I know you're hardly even working in the South, but are there any in the West District at all?
There's one on Monticello Avenue, down by Astor.
So we have one in the West District, the highest crime
There's one
in the
on,
city. And even though we definitely had, we were a UEZ zone.
Yeah, well, I understand. The UEZ dollars were cut prior to us even taking office. So I understand that you could say that you are a UEZ zone and things should have been installed. I can't answer for what's been done in the past. We can only kind of correct those things. So I would say that where those designated locations were selected, we had no input on that ultimately. We're trying to fix a system that we felt is broken. Our 911 system is broken. A lot of the technology that we have doesn't work properly. So,
We remember and you repaired.
yeah, yes, it's the priority, yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Denise Wilkerson, and I'm here on behalf of Pamela Johnson and the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition. And thank you, Mayor, for giving us a few minutes to ask a question or two. We spoke to many members of the community, and they gave us their questions. Firstly, we want to give our condolences to the families of the two people who were killed today in a senseless act of violence. We will be praying for that family, and we will be fighting for that family. The first thing we wanted to ask is, we wanted to ask a question about the flow of guns. At the St. Peter's Caught in the Crossfire meeting, Esther Suarez said that a lot of the guns were flowing into the city from South Carolina, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. We wanted to know, what is the city doing to tackle that problem? Are we working with state and federal agencies to kind of resolve that? The other thing we wanted to talk about is this public safety committee. We just wanted more clarity on what it is they're doing, what they're working on, even when their meetings are, because then we can show up and really be active in the process. We also want to know if they're working on the inevitable increase in crime that we know will occur when the weather gets hot. The other thing we wanted to talk about was information and the flow of information around crimes in the city. We do believe if we know a little more about what happened, we would be able to be engaged as a community to help you fight that crime. And so the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition put in an Oprah request to really understand who is the true owner of the store on Ocean Avenue and Van Nostrand. We haven't heard anything back, not even a confirmation that the request was received. We truly believe that part of fighting crime is shutting down businesses that are housing illegal activity, which fosters an environment for violence. If a business is a part of the problem, they should be shut down. We won't do it in any other community. We don't want to do it here. The Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition is really committed to eliminating crime in the city. We are on the ground working with the community hand in hand, and we believe if we couple that with the access to the information that you have and the resources that the city has, that we can tackle this problem. And so we want to openly request that you work with the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition to get the job done. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so a lot of questions there.
Yes, they're from the community. They're not.
Let me first touch on a tragic situation this morning.
Yes.
We had 2 Jersey residents deceased. What looks to be is a domestic violence dispute. An individual turned his gun on a partner and then subsequently took his own life. So in a park on the border of, on the south side of Jersey City, on the border of Bayonne and Jersey City. So a very sad situation. Let me start with the flow of guns from North Carolina and Pennsylvania. New Jersey has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. We work very closely with our prosecutor. She's been terrific, Esther Suarez, in working for stiffer penalties. As it relates to the broader issue state by state, those are things that we lobby at the federal level for. We've been engaged in it, but we don't have direct control over that ultimately. It is a large problem. I could tell you as an example, 2 months ago when we made, we had 11 arrests on the weekend for gun charges. Half of them happened to be juveniles. right? So the access to guns is very significant and very disturbing, and most of it comes from outside of this area ultimately. I'm going to turn it over to the director on the Public Safety Committee portion in a second. As it relates to involvement on the Anti-Violence Coalition, Pamela would know that we've been actually very proactive in including her in everything that we do. We just started a youth council because one of the byproducts of these meetings was that we wanted to have the youth more involved. It was actually feedback from the community that we could get here and talk to each other, and if you're not having or the effective outreach into younger people, you're missing a huge population. So we've put all stakeholders together. She has been an active part of that. They had their first meeting, I think 2 weeks ago actually, and so she's been involved in all of that. So she's certainly involved.
Just to respond to that. So I think it's more about, that is certainly one component, and she's definitely involved, and she appreciated you adding her to the process for that. But we know that tackling crime is a broader, we need a broader approach to doing that. And we want to sit down not for the sake of having a meeting, but to really work together to develop a plan.
Yeah.
So just in a broader
Like I said, that's what that coalition is doing. All the recreation, they're the reentry programs, they're the anti-violence programs. It is every single stakeholder, mentoring programs. It is every single significant stakeholder in Jersey City is pretty much involved in that group. The group was 25, 30 people that most of them have never met each other before, and it was the first time putting them together in a room and working with the prosecutor and the police department. So I do think that they've set clear goals for that, and I do think that there was going to be a clear agenda as the weather turns with tangible, concrete things that will be implemented for that.
Yeah, so let's hope for the next time we'll see the outcome of all.
But it's going to take several meetings. Like I said, they're working towards that. Let me turn it over to the Public Safety Director.
Yeah, the Public Safety Committee, we meet the first Tuesday every month in my office, 7 o'clock in the evening. Anybody who wants to attend can attend, but you wouldn't be a voting member of the committee or make a suggestion. The ACLU used to come all the time. They stopped coming. To be fair, we've had several members who are not as enthusiastic as participating, and we've already recommended to the mayor and his chief of staff that they consider alternates for the upcoming year. But that's any committee. Every year you need to freshen it up and bring new people in. But we meet 7 o'clock now. 2 suggestions that the committee made. One was that we do some daytime meetings with the police department, and others that we specifically start inviting different communities in to attend the meetings and find out what their concerns are. So that may change the time. So I recommend if you'd like to come, you just reach out to my office at the end of a month and find out exactly when and where the meeting will be for the following month. I wouldn't want you to come and we moved it out, say, to here, or something like that.
I think the latter is a great idea, and so we'll stay tuned for that.
And if people have recommendations or requests to sit on that Public Safety Advisory Committee, you could submit them because we will be making choices. Now is the time, the next couple of weeks. And our Director of Health and Human Services just did advise me that they have a meeting with Pamela next week regarding a proposal she put to the city. So she is involved in a lot of what we're doing. What was that? You could send it, you know what, you have my email, you can send it to me. We'll put something on the city website though, so everybody can access it. You know, I have, yes.
My name is Carlos Fernandez. I'm sorry that I come to this ward. I've been following you. You know that I've been following you. And actually, I'm very interested in taking me today, actually. My question to you is today very simple. You're saying at the beginning you have an open door policy. But you can answer me this question. Why does it take so long, you lawyers, you people, to answer to a damage that you did to a property and to resolving it? As it's over nearly 6 months. My house is destroyed. 3/4 of the house has no walls. I've been in the city hall 5 days. I was in your office door. I spoke to 3 members of your council, man, the president. Everyone says to my lawyer, we're coming back to you. And then nothing happened. Time goes by, my house is more destroyed, my legal bills going higher. I have to change all my life with my wife. Last time you're using the police as a police force to remove me from the meeting before the meeting started, before I say something. So I ask you, what what is this speaking about open policy? When you're not answering the citizens, I'm paying taxes like everyone else. My name is Fernandez, but you have to answer to me.
Okay.
So I answer you why you are so incompetent to answering to these questions.
Okay, so I will explain, because you've asked at several other meetings, and if you ask in this matter, I have no problem answering you. My understanding, I respect it, okay, my understanding is that the city's building department has levied significant fines over illegal construction at your place, and you are in litigation with the city. So it is my place not to intervene on community meetings on that point. You need to sort it out with the building department, as does every single resident. That's the process on that. And you may not like the process, I understand that. You may not think it's the right process, but that is the process for 250,000 people, and you cannot come into a council person's office or the mayor's office and expect that to be corrected. So that's where we are. Yes.
I don't say nothing. You mind?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm standing, but
No
can I please be
problem.
recognized? I've been
No
standing
problem.
twice.
Thank you, sir.
Please, sir.
We'll get to you, Carolyn, I'll get to you in a second over here. We'll go to you, and then we'll go to Carolyn in the front over here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. I was actually contacted by someone concerning that very council you just mentioned with the youth. They said they were going to send me an email by email too, but that never came through. I did call your office about 3 or 4 weeks ago inquiring about it, and your secretary said she knew nothing about it. Excuse me. I have a question regarding Mr. Shea. You said that it happens every second Tuesday in your office.
First Tuesday.
Every first Tuesday in your office. We would like to know the address, because we can just safely assume that you're meeting at City Hall, but I don't think that you're.
No.
Go ahead.
Before that, my question to the council and to you as well is, have we tried to facilitate any type of state buildings where they're doing police training or fireman training, where for all these empty vacant lots, we can put something or establish something like that in our community where it can actually still, after the construction of it, benefit the community versus, you know, we have all these multi-million-dollar people who want to come in and build, but after the construction, our services are no longer needed. So I'm looking more not so for the 2-year or the 3-year term of construction, but how are we going to keep our community empowered in our own community where money is still reciprocated versus somebody building some residential area or building some residential or retail, and then after the construction, we have no say.
I'll answer the first part. The meetings are held at the fire headquarters on Marin Boulevard, 7th Street, okay, right by the East District. They're 1900s, 7 o'clock at night, okay? However, I would recommend you just reach out to us or check on the website ahead of time, make sure we haven't moved it, because we are planning, at the committee's request, we're planning on trying to move out into the community, and we welcome to see you there.
And he wants to know about, like, a police academy.
Is it a police academy or a training facility or just in general?
The police academy, training facility, specifically the police academy. I noticed that if I go to West Orange, for example, and I wonder how their crime rate is compared to our crime rate here. And I know that I actually had the opportunity to visit them several times in different police training facilities. And those police officers who are trained are very active in the community. And so we were talking about, the last time we spoke, we had the opportunity of talking about how the police needs to engage with the community. Well, what better place to do it than a place like this? What better city? I mean, we need to, we're really talking about getting Jersey City back to the place or the stage that we wanted to be at. Then this is one of the vehicles that I see how the state is going to continually bring money into the city. And so that could be beneficial. Okay. Have you even looked into those factors?
Yeah, so
instead of letting them monopolize it, because all of them, I mean, my understanding that even Jersey City police or police in training are sent out in other places.
yes, that's true.
So why not bring that money back?
It's a big problem. His question was regarding police training and academies, and why are we training our officers here as it relates to community engagement more and ultimately getting more officers in through the system. So it's something we're dealing with. The city had a police academy for a long time. My predecessor, the previous mayor, closed the police academy to save some money. It ended up being a very poor decision because what happens now is that we no longer can train our own officers. We need to go to other counties now in order to ask them permission to take a Jersey City trainee into their academy. So every single spot that's available in the northern part of the state of New Jersey, Jersey City fills it with a place. We don't let one single spot go by that I am not actively filling it with somebody from Jersey City. That said, it is still not enough people to get to the numbers that we want to get to, despite when you look at retirements that are happening simultaneously. So we're growing, but we're not growing as fast as we would like to be growing ultimately. We went to the Attorney General, who ultimately decides whether they open or close the police academy, and we said to them we would like to reopen the police academy. This has been something, in fairness, championed by Councilman Bogiano from Ward C since he got into office. It's been his pet project, and rightfully so, so the credit is due over there for certain. The challenge with the Attorney General is that they have said to us that we are no longer grandfathered in. That old facility that existed for decades and decades no longer is approved. They allowed us to operate it because it's been there for so long. They said that we need to build something to new standards, and they're not entirely sure either that they want to have local police academies. They've said to us since then that, well, if you build something, you could come to us for approval on it, and we will see if we'll sign off on it. And we have said to them that we can't build something unless you tell us that it's going to be approved, because we're not going to spend money on something that ultimately you come back to us and say no. We're working very closely with the Newark mayor on this because he has the same exact challenge that we do. Same exact. So we're actively working with the Attorney General on it. Their office is coming back and forth, the commission that reviews this. So we're engaged in it for certain. And your point is 100% valid and actually spot on and correct as a big challenge that we have as a city. So, you guys want to add anything or no?
No,
Let me also say we were just joined here by our Assemblywoman, newly elected Angela McKnight here. All right, Pat, let's go to the back over there.
I'm next.
Oh, Pat.